Act 1. The Incident. May 1st, 2023. It should have been the first day of justice. Jesse McFadden, a convicted rapist, was due in court again, this time for sexting a 16-year-old girl while still in prison. But he never showed. Instead, police were forced to break into his property in rural Henrietta, Oklahoma. Inside, they discovered a massacre. 7 bodies were found, each shot in the head. Jesse McFadden had murdered his wife, Holly Guess, her 3 children, Tiffany, Michael, and Riley, and 2 teenage girls, Ivy Webster and Brittany Brewer, who were only supposed to be there for a weekend sleepover. The youngest victim was just 13. A once seemingly ordinary family home had turned into a twisted execution site. And the man responsible? A registered sex offender who somehow managed to fool everyone. This wasn't just a case of murder, it was a systemic failure. A timeline of red flags that no one stopped. And it ended with blood in the grass and silence in 7 bedrooms. Act 2. Timeline of discovery. The first sign something was wrong came Monday morning. None of the kids showed up to school. Tiffany, Michael, and Riley were absent, so were Ivy and Brittany, their friends who had stayed the weekend. Their parents texted, called, and panicked. Messages that had seemed normal the night before now felt off. Going to McFadden's property, one message read, but Ivy's mom said the tone didn't feel like her daughter. Police were notified, and meanwhile, Jesse McFadden had also gone missing. He didn't appear in court, where he was supposed to finally stand trial for contacting a teenage girl from behind bars. When police entered the Henrietta property, they weren't prepared. Not for what they'd see. They found 7 bodies spread across the property, some near the woods, others near the house, all shot with a 9mm pistol. Jesse McFadden had killed everyone, including himself. What should have been the first day of legal justice turned into a forensic nightmare, and the deeper they looked, the more horrifying it became. Act 3. The victims and their life. Holly Guess was 35, a devoted mother of 3, remarried to a man she thought she could trust. Tiffany was only 13, Riley, 17, Michael, 15. Each had different biological fathers, but they were raised as siblings. Their real father, Joe, stayed in their lives even after divorcing Holly. He tried to remain the rock. Then there were Ivy Webster and Brittany Brewer, just teens looking for a fun weekend. Ivy loved animals and softball. Brittany had dreams of being a teacher or a vet. She had just been selected for a pageant. None of them knew the truth about Jesse, not fully. Even Holly's family had no idea at first. Holly's mother, Jeanette Mayo, later revealed that Jesse had total control over Holly, tracking her phone, isolating her from loved ones, slowly twisting the normal into something unrecognizable. But behind the quiet smiles and small-town life, this family was living with a predator, and no one knew they were running out of time. Act 4. Crime scene breakdown. The horror wasn't just in the bodies. It was in the house. When family members and investigators stepped inside the McFadden property, they weren't prepared for what they'd find. The house was littered with bondage restraints, chains anchored to bed frames, locks installed on kitchen counters, handcuffs, sex toys, drug paraphernalia, and even occult books. There were wet wipes stained with blood, hidden cell phones, hard drives, laptops, and multiple beds rigged with restraint systems. The kitchen island had a chain lock drilled directly into it. It wasn't a home, it was a torture den, masquerading as a family residence. Even more disturbing, the names of all 6 murder victims were found written in a notebook recovered at the scene, suggesting Jesse had planned this, that it wasn't a breakdown, it was a blueprint. The 7 bodies were discovered in 2 separate areas, Ivy, Brittany, and Riley near a barn, Holly, Tiffany, and Michael deeper in the woods. Jesse was also found nearby with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Each victim had been shot execution style. No one survived, not even the dog. Act 5. Suspicion and lies. Jesse McFadden should have never been free. He was a registered sex offender, convicted of raping a 17-year-old girl at knife point. He was caught sexting a minor while in prison. He had 2 cell phone violations in jail and was still awaiting trial when he got out early. He manipulated the system, earned good behavior reviews, got early release, married Holly, and embedded himself into a family, And even when his past resurfaced, people were still fooled. Holly's mother and stepfather discovered his criminal record by accident when researching another person online. When confronted, Jesse denied everything and allegedly hired someone to convince Holly that it was a misunderstanding. But Jesse wasn't just a liar, he was dangerous. Before the murders, he messaged Caitlin, his previous teenage victim, blaming her for his ruined life. "I did exactly what I promised," he wrote. "I built a life, got a job, a family. This is all on you." Those messages were sent just hours before he slaughtered 7 people, and authorities now believe he impersonated Ivy and Brittany in texts sent to their families after the murders, trying to delay suspicion. Everything, every detail, was calculated. He wanted to die in control, not in handcuffs. Act 6. The turning point. This wasn't Jesse's first warning sign. It was his last. Crystal Smith, a survivor of Jesse's earlier attack, had begged prosecutors not to let him out. She told them, "He will hurt someone again." They didn't listen. Caitlin had waited 6 years for her day in court, but Jesse's trial kept getting delayed. If the legal system had acted faster, if parole officers had followed through, those kids might still be alive. Even Jesse's former cellmate, James Fleming, later said he was obsessed with sex. Every conversation turned dark. "I was scared he'd try something on me." And yet, this man was free, living in a house full of children. What finally unraveled it all? A missed court date, a phone that didn't answer. That's what it took for the truth to come out. And by then, it was too late. The turning point had already passed. The system didn't fail once. It failed every step of the way. Act 7. Psychology and motive. There is no simple explanation for what Jesse McFadden did, but his past offered dark foreshadowing of who he really was. He was manipulative, narcissistic, and predatory. Every chapter of his life was marked by power, control, and silence. He groomed teenage girls, lied to authorities, convinced a mother to marry him and trust him with her children. To the outside world, Jesse played the part of a reformed man. He had a wife, a job, a blended family. He fooled neighbors, he fooled Holly, he fooled the system. But behind closed doors, Jesse was seething. His upcoming trial threatened to destroy the facade he'd built. His darkest secrets, his manipulation of minors, the graphic messages, the sexual abuse, were finally going to see the light. And Jesse McFadden wasn't going back to prison. If he couldn't control the narrative, he would destroy it. Psychologists looking at the case point to coercive control, a tactic abusers use to dominate every aspect of their victim's life. Holly's mother said Jesse isolated her daughter, tracked her movements, and punished her emotionally. He created a household where silence was survival, where no one questioned him until he silenced them all, permanently. Some believe Jesse murdered his family to avoid being exposed in court. Others say it was about complete domination. He wanted to own the story, even in death. His final act wasn't a breakdown. It was the crescendo of a life built on secrets and power. Act 8. Aftermath and emotional echo. The tragedy left behind devastated families, unanswered questions, and irreversible loss. Ashley Webster, Ivy's mother, now carries the weight of that final text, the one she believes Jesse sent after killing her daughter. It said Ivy was going to McAllister and would be home soon. She knows now Ivy was probably already dead. Nathan Brewer, Brittany's father, breaks down every time he speaks about his daughter. She wanted to be a vet. She had just been selected for a pageant. She was only 15. Janet Mayo lost her daughter Holly and 3 grandchildren. She had warned about Jesse. She had tried to protect them. Now she's left speaking to photos. The crime scene, those restraints, the hidden chains, the bloody sheets, haunts everyone who saw it. Authorities were shocked that the family was even allowed inside to retrieve belongings before the scene was cleared. It wasn't just negligent, it felt like a second betrayal. And now, everyone is asking the same question. How many more warnings will we ignore? How many more lives need to be lost before a predator isn't given a second chance? Jesse McFadden didn't just kill 7 people. He shattered the illusion that the justice system works. He proved that evil doesn't always wear a mask. It can smile, shake your hand, and sleep in the room next to your children. This wasn't just a murder-suicide, it was a systemic failure. So the next time someone tells you the past is the past, remember the names of Ivy, Brittany, Riley, Tiffany, Michael, Holly, and the predator they never saw coming. This wasn't just a crime, it was a warning written in blood.